Hi everyone, and this is your brain on Google. Today we're going to go into forms. So I'm going to first show you 3 ways to get to forms. The first way is to be in your Google Drive. Remember that you logged in and went to your waffle and clicked on Drive. So I'm in my Drive. I can click the plus, and it says here I can see my Google Docs and new sheets and slides. I have to go to more to go to forms. So that's one way to get there. Another way to get there is to click on my waffle, and instead of clicking on Drive, I would click the more and go to forms. And there it is right there. So that's another way to get to forms. And the third way is just to type forms.google.com. And I'll go straight into forms that way. So those are 3 ways to get to forms. Once I'm in forms, I can click a blank one, or I can use the template gallery, and there's lots of forms there. You can see that there's a lot of variety here that are in there, and you can also set your own and save it to the template for your Williams Unified School District if you would like. I'm just going to make a blank one for right now. To show you the basics around forms. In this case, I just want to make a student survey. So I'm not making a quiz. I could make a quiz, but sometimes I just want to get feedback from the students or from parents or something like that. Maybe I want to ask the students how they felt, how they did. Maybe I want them to reflect. Maybe I want them to think about what was difficult about the task. And I can change that and automatically recognize that I ask a question, and automatically recognize for me that I probably want this to be a longer question. So sometimes it just auto tells you what kind of question to give, and it kind of recognizing what kind of question that you're asking, and it does that for you already. You want to make sure that you're requiring these questions so that they are for sure going to answer. To get another question, I can just click the plus. I could add choices if I want to. I just want to show you the different types of questions that you can allow. You can do a short answer, and it really is a short answer. So 1, 2, or 3 words most likely, and it will kind of cut them off. You'll kind of see that. So you'll want to make sure that if you really want a yes/no answer of something short, just chocolate, vanilla, if you were asking them what kind of ice cream they liked or something like that, that would be appropriate for that. A paragraph is when you want them to explain something. Multiple choice, you know what that is. So there's lots of different things that they could do. You could allow a file upload if you were asking them to attach something, and there's checkboxes and grids and even a linear scale if you wanted them to rate yourself. You could also import questions from a document or a test that maybe you've already created. You could add a image and even a YouTube video. So for this example, I'm just going to do 2 questions in my survey. And I wanted to show you that you're going to go back up here And this, you can preview it to see how it will look from a student's point of view. And here it is. It says it's required. It says submit, but I'm noticing I don't have any names on my survey. I better go back and edit it. I'm going to click here on the cogwheel. That's where the settings live in Google. And you're going to go to see the presentation and the quizzes if you wanted to make it a quiz, and the general settings. So I want to collect their email addresses because I want them to sign in with their school account anyway. So that's going to come up with their email addresses. I want them to have a response receipt, and I want them to always have that. That is something that I like to do because then it tells me for sure that not only did they receive this survey, but also that they know that I received it. So that's something that I like to do. I want to restrict the users to Williams Unified School District if it's a student, because I want to make sure that they are our students. And I also want to make sure that this survey is safe and it's not being shared outside of our organization. I want to limit them to just one response. I don't want them to come in and do 3 responses. I want them to only have one response. You can see that I need to save it. I was noticing that even though it's collecting their emails, it's really not giving me their name. It's just giving me their email addresses. In the case of our school, they don't have their name on their email addresses. So I want to make sure that I add another question. I'm noticing that, so I can go back, and that's why the preview is so important. Maybe you want their last name as well. And you'll notice that it automatically defaulted to short answer. And I'm just checking that it's making sure that it's required. This little asterisk right here shows me that it is a required question. I can add a description if I want right here. And I wanted to go back here. I had set my general settings. I wanted to set the presentation. I want to show a progress bar. In this case, I don't want the answers shuffled around. I want them to go in order, but I want to add a confirmation message so that when they get their auto receipt, they're going to have a message from me. Oops. Over here, I could tell it to turn on locked mode if I had a Chromebooks. I'm not going to turn that on because in our school, most of the students are using Windows devices, so I can't enable this. I want to make sure that I have not made this one a quiz because I'm not giving points for their reflection. Since this is a reflection, I'm not making it a quiz, so I'm making sure that this button is turned off. To make it a quiz, I would have to turn it on, and then I would go back to my quiz and give the points to it. But in this case, I don't want to make it a quiz. I just want to gather their feedback on how they're doing and how they think, how they feel they are doing, what they might need more help with. I'm going to save it. Save my settings. You can see right here, I can click the send button to send it to my students. I can send it to their email and type in all my students' emails, but I think the easier way is to click on this one, which is a link, and I'm going to shorten that link, and then I can copy it. So I'm just making sure that it's highlighted in blue. I Control C, so I made it a copy. And now I'm going to go into my classroom, just paste the link there. I'm going to go to my waffle and click on Classroom. And I'll add it as an assignment. In this case, I will add it as to my high school class. I'm going to go to Classwork, and I will create an assignment right here. And then remember that paste button, that little link, it's right here. And I'm going to Control V this time to paste that link so that they'll get that quiz there. And I'm going to add the link. And I'll title it the same thing. I can select how many points it is, and because it's ungraded, I'm going to select ungraded. It doesn't have this, remember we made it not a quiz. It's not a quiz, but I do want to add a due date. So I want to have the due date tomorrow for tomorrow. I can add a topic right here. And then I can assign it. Now it's showing there. It's on the reflection. It's due tomorrow. It says right here's a Google form, sign in. I can click there just to view it to make sure that it's working correctly. And it is. There's my survey. And I'm making sure that it's showing up with their first name, their last name. It has a little red asterisk, so I'm making sure that it's required, and it says a copy of your responses will be emailed to your teacher. It has me right there, and then they can click the submit button. So I always go back and kind of check to make sure whatever I did was correct. And remember, in Google, everything auto saves, so I don't have to worry about closing my form. And if I saw something that I wanted to adjust, oh shoot, I forgot that. Well, I can go back to my form, and I noticed that this didn't have a title, so I can make sure that I'm adjusting these things. And as I'm adjusting these things, the link is going to stay the same, so that any changes I make here before the students enter the survey data, it's going to be adjusted on their end as well. So what I noticed was I had this extra text here that I don't want. So I can take this and get rid of it before it shows up. So I can just delete and make sure that, okay, that looks better now. And then I can go back and double check that, yes, my preview has adjusted. I have a title. My questions have an asterisk, so that means they're required. I don't have any extra text, and it looks correct now. And I know that since I pasted it into my classroom, that it's going to have already synced and updated and adjusted right there. The other thing I wanted to show you was that you can get your responses right here once they have answered your questions, but you can also click here. So your responses will show up on a short survey right here as little graphs, but you could also click on this green plus and it's going to create it as a spreadsheet. And you can create it right here. You'll see that it's opening now Google Sheets, and it's going to collect the data from my survey responses right here. It'll have a timestamp of when they did it. It will collect their email address. And now because I added it as a question, their first and last name, that's going to show up, as well as the data for these questions that I asked. And I can adjust my cells to allow more space if I want, just so I can see all of the data right in there. And it's all going to be collected right here in this sheet. So both of these are now linked. I can see the responses here, right here, but if I don't like the way they look, I can always click here and view the responses in Sheets. I can always turn this on later if I like. You'll see that it says it's accepting responses. It's accepting responses because I made the due date due tomorrow. After tomorrow is over, the next day, this will be auto turned off since I assigned it a certain date. If I did not assign it a date, this would be accepting responses for as long as anybody has access to that link.